What was the moment that you guys decided the EDL is for me?
Well, that's a question I think individuals should answer. For me, I won't go into details, but there was a kind of, well, it was a tragedy thing that happened in my life. An acquaintance of mine was murdered, and that just made me look into what was going on. You know, it did. And then as I started looking into things, I started seeing something else. As I say to everybody, don't believe what I'm telling you. Go and look for yourself. All I ask of people is go and look for yourself.
So what happened?
I don't know. I can move forward. Just got here.
What was he next for? What was he next for?
It wasn't him, it was an earth.
It was an earth.
Turned her back.
And Huckled. Charming. This is very peaceful.
Please everyone look forward.
This is very peaceful.
Good football.
Yeah.
Alright, football.
He also does table tennis.
Oh, alright, good. Thank you.
Very good swimmer as well.
Naked with his.
No!
Stop.
You lie.
Gee whiz.
I'm sure he's heard worse than me.
What, from the old man? Yeah.
So.
Right, ready?
Ready? I'm ready.
Alright. First question, where are you from? Let's just start with the general election. What is kind of the general feel at the table?
Same with the same. Same with the same, really. There's no difference between them anymore. There used to be, one used to be left and one used to be slightly right. There is no difference now.
No,
They're both exactly the same.
I think the crux of it all is at the end of the day, they're all career politicians now, not conviction politicians, so all we can do is see and wait.
How did you feel about the elections?
Well, to be honest, on a personal, I don't agree with David Cameron, his benefit cuts, his bedroom tax. In my eyes, he's guilty of genocide because the amount of people that you don't hear of in the media that are committed suicide. He's not doing enough either to protect these children that have been groomed by Muslim gangs.
I think the whole system needs to be addressed. I think it needs to be modernised. I think it needs to be looked at. If you look at the system it was backdated from all the way back then when there was only two parties. Nothing's changed. If you look at for the future of it, what's going to change? It's just going to be the same people in it every time. And it's wrong. If you look at, I won't tell you who I voted for, but I voted for UKIP.
So, being English, what does it mean to you?
English to me means freedom, democracy, fairness, all across the board, from government right down to the poorest person. Everybody's got an equal say. Everybody should have equal rights.
What does being English mean to you?
Everything. It's where I'm born. It's where I'm from.
As a cultural identity, like what makes you different from, the next person?
I'm no different to anybody else. You know what I mean?
Talk to me about the ideology of the EDL.
The ideology of the EDL is basically, I see it as education. It's a street movement that was formed, off the back of the spineless government, and we basically go places and try to educate people in what is happening in their streets, their towns, their schools, everything around them, to try and get them to wake up to the severe problem that is around us. It's educating, getting people to not accept what's hidden from them, and you have to face things.
So what is hidden from them?
Everything to do with Islam. It's this multicultural circus that Labour started and David Cameron's continued. Of this, we all love our neighbour and we're all living happily together in this lovely little world of rainbows, and sadly it isn't.
Our ideology, we want our country back to being free like it was 40, 50 years ago. The ideology we've got is we will not tolerate people coming into this country and treating it as it's their own, basically. They just take the mickey out of what we do. They're destroying our laws, they're destroying our culture. That's precious to us.
And so what steps would you like to see taken? Do you think that it's government, or do you think that it's citizens that need to step?
It has to start from the top. It has to start in government. the steps to stop this now, the borders need to be closed. They really need to be closed. The people that came here in the first place, a lot of them were asylum seekers. They were here because they were frightened about their own countries. They were going to be killed, murdered, raped, whatever. Now that threat's gone, why are they still here? Why can't they go back to the country now it's peaceful?
You can't say the truth in this country. I get called racist all the time, which I find really funny because my dad's Greek, my family were immigrants, they came here and they integrated. Muslims cause segregation, they want their own ghetto sort of thing where they all do their own sharia, they're controlled by their own beliefs. They don't integrate, but we're not fascist, we're not racist.
Full stop, end of. Equality for all at the end of the day, a fair bite to children, and a chance for my kids and my grandkids and the generations down to either succeed or fail like I've had. End of.
Police protect the Nazis! Who protects the Nazis? Police protect the Nazis! Nazi scum! Off our street! Nazi scum! Off our street! Nazi scum!
Every time we go on a peaceful demonstration, we're attacked. Bricks, bottles, lumps of wood. They wear banners saying "Smash the EDL." You know what I mean? I thought they were supposed to be peace and love. They're the biggest violent fascism around.
Why do you think that there's this stigma of fascism against the EDL?
People don't like people telling the truth, basically, in this country, I'm afraid. As soon as you criticise something, you're labelled far right, you're labelled racist.
Deport them. Simple, really. If they're not from here and they're only coming here to radicalise people to grow against us, then why keep them here? Send them back or jail them. Get tough on them. Don't just say, oh. I mean, look at Anjem Chowdhury for example. I mean, he was wanted not so long ago. He's back on the streets, preaching his hate, and he's there on telly, gaining media attention. So this radicalisation is just getting worse and worse because they're allowed the platform. Personally, they shouldn't be getting that attention, I think.
When people say that the EDL shouldn't have a platform, what's the difference between that and the extremists not being able to speak?
When did the EDL incite beheading? When did the EDL ever incite grooming? We've never ever done anything like that with you.
Is there a point where you think you can negotiate with followers of this religion?
No. I don't see how you can. It's not a religion, it's an ideology, and it's a brainwashing ideology. So therefore, it just goes on and on. So there is no, you have to destroy it to get rid of it.
So how important is free speech to you?
It's very important. Obviously, I wouldn't do this otherwise. Yeah, it's very important. But as the others have said, it's becoming more and more difficult to do it. With the racist take, is just to shut you up. No one likes the label, so it's chucked at all our supporters. It's the name to call them. The UAF, that's all they can come up with. You're a racist. That's the best shot. So general public back away from it because they don't want that target of that label of being a racist.
So
and it works.
So when you say to eradicate Islam, where does the free speech come into that? Do they have the right to speak?
They have the right to free speech as long as it doesn't interfere with anyone else. And sadly, their level, is heavily aggressive. So no, they have no free speech.
But at the end of the day, they're taught and bred up to age to see us as second-rate citizens. In these hardline masjids and everything else. That's what their kids are getting told. And how can our government allow that to be taught to children in our society? That's not right. We are a multicultural, we are a tolerant society, secular society, whatever you want to call it. How can that be allowed to carry on?
But we bend their rules so much for them. They have their own rules where we don't. For instance, they're allowed 3 wives, 3 houses, 24 kids. That's called bigamy. But it's not because you follow Islam.
The law says I have to. I've got a personal
law says you have to, but the law doesn't say that you can let them in and let them do what they want to do, and we have to move and we have to do.
That's why they're independent.
We've been brought up in a multicultural society,
yeah.
And we embrace that. We've got no problem with that. But what Islam brings and what they're doing, and this is what a big problem we're having now, is them segregating themselves.
They don't want to integrate.
They don't want to integrate with any of us. Any kufar infidel, they do not want to integrate with us at all. And this is a problem. Now, we've been brought up in a multicultural society and we embrace that.
Judge a man by his actions, not by his colour of his skin. That's how we grew up.
Exactly, yeah.
You know?
I don't oppose immigration because I work with a lot of immigration, and you know what I mean, I give them the due, you know what I mean, they work hard, you know what I mean, they even come to work sick, you know what I mean, they've come here for a better way of life, so you know what I mean, are we to criticise that?
Do you think that the greater threat comes from a group like ISIS or individuals within England already?
ISIS is quite a new thing, and our issues were there before ISIS put their head above the thing. But sadly, they all read the same book. They all follow the same beliefs. So between ISIS and extremists here, there is no difference. You know, there is no difference between them, and it will never, it will never be. And my opinion is it needs to be eradicated. Now, that's the only way to end it, and it will come to that. It will come to, mass street violence or even civil war.
So, not racist, not violent.
No.
Is there a point where violence is acceptable?
Only if it's in defence, and we will vigorously defend ourselves. It's as simple as that. We will march, we will say what we've got to say, we will go quite happily, quite peacefully. Anybody attacks us, we've just got to counter-attack that attack. We defend ourselves as much as we need to do.
What's the alternatives? If this government had its way, there will be race riots. People will become suspicious. That's a nightmare. And I think actually perhaps in some perverse way they might even prefer that, because it's so much easier for them to go down the streets, kick people's doors off, beat shit out of them and lock them up. They don't like us because we are what we are, and they've tried to twist us and we just keep going. This isn't a racist organisation, it isn't a violent organisation. And before you ask that question at the end of the day, right, I know all the people around me at the end of the day, you push us to a fight, we'll fight. Well, none of us have signed on to fight in this country. None of us have signed on to fight fellow Englishmen, even if we don't like the principles. But I'm telling you, you push us in a corner.
What is the most important message to you that people understand about the EDL?
We're non-racist, non-violent, we're just no longer silent. That's it really, that's our motto.
Just listen to us, please, just step back. Instead of firing at us the things that you've heard in the media, the things that you read about in the papers about EDL, which is all media produced, it's not the reality. If more people came to our demos, listen to the speeches, listen to what we've got to say, and have a look who's doing the attacking, it's not us. The weekend we were attacked with apples with razor blades, and we were attacked with ball bearings, we were attacked with bottles of urine. What did we do? We marched straight back through it.
We can see what's coming. We know exactly what's coming. And anybody with half a brain that takes a few minutes to sit down and think. Like I said, you've only got to go on YouTube. You've only got to watch, read things. You can see what is coming. So it's about getting people ready for it.
We're not racist. We're not violent. We've got a black, white, Sikh, Hindu division, a Jew division to come along. We're not racist. We're not violent. And that's our message. Love and peace to all. God save the Queen and country.
At the end of the day, the EDL is a symptom of a problem, it's not the problem. And if I know for a fact I'd like nothing better to do than hang up my boots in comfort and go back to our family life, a lot of times missing because of that. So at the end of the day, if there's a government officials out there that can come and sit down at the table with me and convince me that there ain't a problem and that the problem's in hand, I'll be happy to do it. But none of them will come and sit at the table with us.